Welcome to Newsmax TV. I'm Ashley Martella. We're joined by Newsmax contributor Dick Morris. Hi, Dick.
Hey, good to be here, Ashley.
Good to have you. Okay, turning to the ethics charges against longtime members of the Congressional Black Caucus, Charles Rangel and Maxine Waters. Now, can they survive, and what do you see as the possible political fallout from this, if any, in November?
Survive? They're going to prosper, Ashley. Ethics violators in the House of Representatives rise to incredible heights. Maxine Waters will suffer no penalty from it. Charlie Rangel will either win or lose his primary that's going on, oddly enough against Adam Clayton Powell IV, the guy whose father Rangel defeated to take that House seat 30 years ago. If Rangel survives and defeats Powell in the primary in about 3 or 4 weeks, nothing's going to happen to him. He'll get a reprimand, a slap on the wrist. On the other hand, he could lose because that could be an issue in his re-election campaign. The important point is that the Rangel and the Waters controversies, the ethics charges, are just about the same in the 2010 cycle as the Mark Foley stuff was in the 2006 cycle. Remember the guy who had to resign because of his writing letters to pages, even though there's no evidence that he ever touched anybody? But that came just as the Republicans were entering the re-election cycle, and it was one of the big factors that cost them control of the House. And now I think the Democratic ethics problems are really hurting them in their efforts to control the House. Obama has bad poll numbers, but they don't equal the kind of wipeout you're seeing in the head-to-head polling around the country. Congress on its own, with its ethical issues, Rangel and Waters Exhibit A, is contributing a great deal to its own demise.
To enhance their chances of taking back the House, can Republicans make a successful case against Nancy Pelosi's promises to drain the swamp and to run the most ethical Congress in history as a result of this?
Oh, I think it's ridiculous to say that she ran the most ethical Congress, or that she drained the swamp. I think she just added to it. I think that what was unique about this Congress, though, is that whereas normally the deals were cut in private and then came out on the floor, because Obama basically said to the Senate in particular, here's health care, catch, and you figure out what you're going to do with it. All of those deals were made in public. And it goes back to the line of Bismarck that Mark Twain adopted, which is that people should never see a sausage being made, because they'll never want to eat one, or a law being passed. And when people saw those deals to buy the Nebraska vote, or to buy the Louisiana vote, or to buy the Arkansas vote, it ended up leaving a really sour taste in their mouth. And now these ethical scandals on top of it are amplifying it.
Dick, we know you're traveling across the country trying to help Republican candidates. Let's start with a big one everybody's watching, and you're very much involved in Nevada. Now, Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid's lead over Sharon Angle is down now to 2 points and change, according to the RCP average. Now, have you been able to make any inroads there in your effort to run ads countering the ones Reid ran that you say were complete smears of Angle's positions?
Yeah, the reason that Angle has moved up is because of those advertisements. Right after the primary, Reid was trailing by about 8 or 9 points. Then he put this vicious ad on that accused Angle of wanting to phase out Social Security and Medicare, editing a tape that was of her, but editing it very harshly to give people the wrong impression. And Angle had no money, so there was no answer to $1 million of negative media. We've raised over $300,000 that went into the rebuttal commercial that gives the full tape of what Angle said, which is she wanted to phase out the method of funding which permitted the Democrats to raid the Social Security fund and use it to pay for the deficit. That ad has impelled a rise by Angle to a point where now she's back to a statistical tie with Reid.
Now, has the Republican Party been doing enough, in your opinion, to keep Angle going?
The Republican what, Ashley? Party? As in Republican National Committee, as in Michael Steele? They don't exist. You can go out and you can spend all day, every day, like I'm doing, going from district to district, campaigning for everybody who's got a shot at defeating an incumbent Democrat and raising independent expenditures for a bunch of them and campaigning for many of them, and the Republican Party's nowhere to be seen. The Republican National Committee could safely float off on an island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and do no damage in this election. Fortunately, they're not costing us any votes at the moment.
All right, we know you spent some time in Illinois this week. What's happening there?
Well, it's so exciting. We may pick up 5 seats in Illinois. we'll at least pick up one, the old Hastert seat. I was meeting with Randy Hilgren, who is running for that seat against Foster, the Democratic congressman. That one looks pretty good. We're actually ahead of him. And then there's Debbie Bloomquist, where I think we've got an awfully good shot of beating her. There's another seat held by Congressman Bean we have a shot at. Not Bloomquist, Halverston, excuse me, Debbie Halverston. We've got a very good shot, a certainty of one, I think, a good shot at 3, and some shot at 2 more. And that's from Illinois alone, which is basically a Democratic state. And also, I think Mark Kirk is going to win that Senate seat, and I think Brady, the Republican, will win the governorship. I think you'll have a Republican sweep in Illinois, even though it's one of the most quintessential blue states in the country. And Ashley, that's just typical of what I'm finding all over the country.
All right, in your latest column, you advise Republicans to stick to the major issues in their campaigns and avoid a person-to-person comparison. Please explain.
Well, the Democratic strategy is we can't win over Obamacare, we can't win over the stimulus or the economy or card check or cap and trade, can't win over any of the major issues. So what we're going to do is run negative campaigns against the individuals who are the nominees of the Republican Party. This one's too extremist, and that one went through a personal bankruptcy, and that one is of questionable character, and blah, 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 blah. And Republicans obviously need to answer each of those attacks. You must reply. But you also have to bring the election back to the issues, which is fundamentally the health care proposal, the deficit, the stimulus package, the economy, eliminating the secret ballot in union elections, and cap and trade. Those are the national issues in play at the moment. And on all of those issues, the voters side with the Republicans against the Democrats. So my column said you have to depersonalize this campaign and bring it back to the issues. And Ashley, with these Democratic congressmen voting the way Pelosi tells them to, 95 and 98% of the time, what are we electing a congressman for? Just elect a voting machine. I don't think that you can vote the way they're told anyway. And I think the key point here is that you need to run on the issue positions and the votes that'll be cast, rather than get into one of these personality fights with the Democrats.
And finally, how do you feel about this $26 billion state aid package just passed by Congress?
Well, that's enormously significant because the states are becoming totally dependent on these one-shot bailouts from the federal government. And when the Republicans take over Congress, which I think they will, they're going to start saying, no, we're not going to give you that bailout. And what's going to happen then is that the states are going to have huge fiscal problems. And the bond buyers will refuse to buy their paper. They'll refuse to lend the money, even short-term money. And the result is these states are going to come crying back to Washington. And then I hope the Republicans tell them we will only grant you assistance if you declare bankruptcy under rules we will set up, amending the bankruptcy law, requiring you to abrogate your labor union contracts, your municipal and public employee and teachers union contracts that got you into this mess in the first place. The gradual unraveling of state government finances, which we're watching before our eyes, holds within it the potential for an amazing reformation from the top of this system to the bottom.
Dick, as always, thanks so much. Interesting stuff. Safe travels to you.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching Newsmax TV.